everyone, welcome to this month's pattern. I am doing a mini bunny or a chick. Super simple for this month's pattern, but really fun, works up really quick. And I got this idea just looking at some baby toys that a friend of mine had laying around. They were wooden and small in size, which reminded me of the mini, and her baby was able to easily pick them up and move them around. And I thought, well, how cute would that be for Easter with a bunny or a chick? So that's what we're going to do this month. The pattern works up very similar aside from the details, and you can choose which one you make. You will need a 3.5 crochet hook, medium weight yarn, acrylic yarn. I'm simply using an off-white for the bunny and a pale yellow for the chick. You can use any colors you like. 6mm safety eyes. I will say if you are intending to use these as a toy, please, for a small child, don't use safety eyes. So on the eye details, as the safety eyes can be a choking hazard, you will need some embroidery thread for the face details. So on the bunny, the nose, and on the chick, the beak and the feet. I also use some makeup blush on the bunny just to color in the ears and the cheeks. And a final detail on the bunny is a little pom-pom tail. So hot glue, a pom-pom if you want to put that on, but again, that is optional. I recommend using a stitch marker in this pattern as well in the first stitch of each round. You will need an embroidery needle or a yarn needle for sewing on the details of the face, and a little bit of fiberfill stuffing, not much, as we make this pattern up, because really there's not much to it. We work the bunny from the top down, so when you start the magic ring, the top will be here and then we will close it at the bottom. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I am going to go ahead and choose to start with the bunny. The body of the chick will work up the same, so make whichever pattern you like, and then I will demonstrate how to do the details of the face for each of the different patterns as we go along. So let's start this pattern with a magic ring. If you're not familiar with a magic ring or you just don't like it, go ahead and do the chain 2 method. So to do the chain 2, you would make a slip knot, chain 2, and then work all of the stitches for round 1 into the second chain from your hook, and then just continue on in the pattern as normal. The pattern that we are making will be made in continuous rounds, so we will not be joining for the bunny's body. So round 1, we are going to place 6 single crochets into the center of the magic ring. Another reminder is the full pattern, if you're simply coming across this on YouTube, is on my blog. So if I skip forward or you get confused at a certain part, go to cloud9knots.com, visit the blog tab, and all of these monthly mini patterns are available on the blog for you to follow along with the link to the video. Okay, for round 2, we are going to increase in each stitch around. So it increases 2 single crochets into each stitch for this pattern. So there is my first single crochet. I'm going to go ahead and slide in a stitch marker. I simply use bobby pins. You can use whatever you prefer. And go back right into the same stitch and make another single crochet to increase. So I'm going to do that in each stitch around, placing 2 single crochets in each stitch. So by the end of round 2, we will have 12 single crochets made. Okay, for round 3, we are going to place 1 single crochet into the next stitch, followed by an increase in the next. And then we repeat that sequence all the way around. So we'll do 1 and then an increase. So by the time we get to the end of round 3, we will have made 18 single crochets. Okay, for round 4, we are going to place 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches and then an increase in the next. And that sequence of 5 and then an increase will continue all the way around. So by the time that we get to the end of this round, we will have made 21 single crochets. Okay, increase in that last stitch. Rounds 5 through 8, we're simply going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So we'll have 21 single crochets in each of these rounds. I won't make you watch me stitch for each of these rounds, just 1 single crochet all the way around. You can pause the video if you are crocheting along. I am going to go ahead and skip forward for time's sake, and we'll meet back here after completing round 8. Okay, we just finished round 8. So for round 9, we are going to place 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, followed by a decrease. Okay, so here's a decrease. We're going to place our hook up under the next stitch and pull up a loop, go immediately into the next stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 on the hook to decrease those 2 single crochets down to 1. So we are just going to complete that sequence all the way around with 5 and a decrease. So by the time we get to the end of this round, we will have made 18 single crochets. Okay, round 10, we are going to place 1 single crochet into the next stitch, followed by a decrease all the way around. So by the end of round 10, we will have 12 single crochets. Okay, so we're going to pause here at the end of round 10 because now it is time to sew on the face details for our bunny. I'm going to tuck that starting tail up in there. And remember, we're working from the top down. So if this is the top of the bunny's head here where our magic ring started, we're going to want to make sure it's up when we do the face here. So make it so you can see here. I've got my safety eyes. I'm going to take the set here and I'm going to place them between round 5 and 6, about 3 stitches apart. So here, slide 1 in, and then go over 3 back. Now, I'm not going to put the backs on yet because I don't want to slide those backs on until I am absolutely sure that I'm happy with everything else on the face, because once those backs go on, It's very difficult. You have to cut them off to move the eyes and get new backs. So I make it a last thing that I do kind of thing. So now that we have the eyes there, sew on the nose. Nose is pretty simple. I'm just going to use my yarn needle because it's handy, but if it's easier for you to use an embroidery needle, please feel free to do so. I'm going to make the nose right in between the eyes. Now, I like the nose to just kind of come, the top of it to be right between those eyes. So I'm going to start, because it's almost a T shape, I'm going to start down here and make this part first. Pull up and go right in between and go back in. Just like that. And then I'm going to come right back where I came out the first time and do that one more time. Go right back in the same spot. So there's that. And now I'm going to make across the top like that T shape. So I'm going to go in right here, come out, and go right, drop my needle, go right back over and pull it through. Okay, so there's my nose thus far. So I'm going to take my needle off and I'm just going to tie these two pieces of thread, the ends, together and gently up in there, double knot it, and then I'm going to trim away any excess. Now that I have the nose on, I am going to pop the safety backs on to each eye. You just push until you feel a little click. And they're secured in place. So before we go ahead and proceed with finishing the bunny, because the body of the chick will work up the same way to close, let's go ahead and do the face details on the chick. Okay, here we have our chick. I've already put the eyes about 3 stitches apart between rounds 5 and 6. And I don't have any orange embroidery thread handy, so I'm just using baby weight yarn. I'm going to improvise a little bit in this orange color. Now, making the beak on the chick is super easy. Go right between the eyes. And we are just going to make a line. And I go back and forth 2 or 3 times. Just like that. And then once I've done that, I tie these 2 ends together. I said duck, I meant chick. It's getting late in the afternoon. And trim those ends away. And let's pop those safety eye backs on. Okay, and let's go ahead and make the little feet. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is place 2 little V's just below the eye. So we're gonna be, here's rounds 5 and 6, 6 and 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, in between. So I'm gonna go between about rows rounds 7 and 9 and just make a little V shape under each eye. So just go in. And then come on up here and go right back into the same spot there. Just like that. And then do one just on the other side. Super simple little feet. And then once I've done that, again, I'm going to tie those two ends together, trim away the excess, and finish our little chick. So now we'll pop back over to the bunny body because we're in the same spot, and I'll show you how to close and stuff. And then we'll meet back here after you finish the bunny so I can show you the final finishing detail on the chick. Okay, now that we're done with the chick, let's go ahead and finish the bunny's body. And the chick will also close the same way. In round 11, we are going to place one single crochet into the next 2 stitches, followed by a decrease. Okay, let's go ahead and stuff the body now. So I'm just going to take a little bit of fiberfill and using my finger, you can use the end of the hook if it's easier for you. Sometimes the fiberfill bags come with a stick in there that you can use to stuff the fiberfill in. Just stuff it until the bunny's body is firm. You don't want it to be so full that the stitches kind of create space between them and gap, but you also want it to hold its shape. Okay, now that we've stuffed it, let's do our final round here. Round 12. We are going to place one single crochet into that next stitch, followed by a decrease. And by the end of this round, we will have made 6 single crochets. And then we can whip stitch closed here. Okay, there's my final decrease. So what I'm going to do is trim a yarn tail, leaving excess for sewing. It's a really long yarn tail. You won't need that much yarn, but I cut it long. Remove my stitch marker and thread my yarn needle. Now to close, we're going to go back and forth through the front loops of the last round here. So just whip stitching back and forth under those front loops. And when you get to the last one, you just gently pull that yarn tail. The body will close, and you can just weave it through the body to secure and trim away your excess yarn. So here's our little bunny so far. Let's go ahead and start the ears. Okay, bunny's ears, we're going to make 2. Start with a magic ring. We're going to place 6 single crochets into the center of that magic ring. Okay, for the next round, round 2, we're going to place 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, followed by an increase. So by the end of round 2, we're going to have made 8 single crochets. Rounds 3 through 5 are simply going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So at the end of each round, you'll have 8 single crochets. So if you need to pause right now, go ahead and do that. We're going to finish these rounds and jump forward to the end of round 5. Okay, we just completed round 5. For round 6, we're going to place 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, followed by a decrease. So by the end of round 6, we will have made 6 single crochets. Okay, last round here of the ear is round 7, and we are simply going to be placing 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So by the end of round 7, you will have made 6 single crochets. Okay, the first ear is done. Fasten off, leaving a tail of yarn for sewing. I'm going to move my stitch marker. I'm going to trim my starting tail down a little bit. It's kind of long. Get it out of the way. And then let's go ahead and make the second ear, and then we can attach them to the top of the bunny's head. Okay, now that we have finished both ears, let's begin to attach them to the top of the bunny's head. To do this, I whip stitch the bottom of the ear shut by taking that yarn tail back and forth just to close the bottom of the ear. Then I place it just to the side of the center of the magic ring, right on top of the head, so that the ear ends up kind of being aligned with the eye. You can pin this in place if you would like. I am just going to hold it in place. It's extra challenging right now because I'm holding it away from my body so that I can film what I'm doing, which makes it a little bit more challenging. I'm used to sewing things kind of closer to my body. But I'm going to go back and forth, just attaching that ear the top of the head and going back and forth across that last row of stitches. And if you get it attached and you don't like where it's at, just redo it. There's one ear. I'm going to leave that on there for right now in case I decide that I want to move the ear. So let's go ahead and do the second ear. And I hold it right next to the center, right up next to the other ear, so they're touching, just like that. And just like the other one, I'm just going to go back and forth through a stitch, up under a stitch in the body of the bunny, and then come back up under a stitch like that I whip stitched shut here, all the way across. Okay, now that I have both ears secured, I'm going to weave those ends through the body and trim away the excess. Let's do some finishing details on our bunny. So I've got some makeup blush, and I'm going to just dust it in to each ear for a little bit of color. Now, if you want to have fun with your bunny pattern, you can add on eyelashes, you can do eyebrows, you can make a flower to put on the outside of the ear. Get creative. I'm like kind of trying to just keep it simple, almost on this pattern, like a vintage toy. Okay, now that I have placed that in, I'm gonna use my finger, just kind of blend in the blush. And then the final touch will just be gluing this little pom-pom onto the back. You can use hot glue, white glue, whatever you'd like. I'm going to use white glue because I have it handy. And of course you don't have to do a pom-pom at all if you don't want to. So I'm going to pop that on the back, let it dry, and let's go ahead and finish the chick. Okay, here is our little chick all closed up with face details and feet. And the final detail for the chick is to create the feathers right at the top of the head. So I have cut 2 pieces of yarn in the body color, holding them together, and I'm going to fold them from the center so I have this loop here at the top. I'm going to take the hook and pass it up through the center of the magic ring and out of a stitch between the eyes on the top of the head. I'm going to put that loop from those 2 pieces of yarn that we cut and just pull it through. Just like that. And now that I have both of those pieces, and here's the loop, I'm going to grab the ends of the yarn and I'm going to gently pull. I'm going to secure that to the top of the chick's head, just like that. Now I cut mine kind of long because I think it's easier to work with, but you can cut your pieces as short as you would like when you're pulling them through. So I'm going to trim that down. And then we've created this little feather detail at the top. I like to take my yarn needle and separate those strands out so that it's a little less thick in those yarn strands, like this. This is maker preference when you're working on your little design. And then after I've, fan them out, they're still a little long, so I'm going to trim mine down just a little bit more. And there you have it, our finished mini chick.